Continuing completed classics. Fulfilling failed franchises. Reinvigorating reviled rehashes. It's the follow-up Showdown! With Paul Getz, Travis McMaster, and Lauren McKorney.
Hello and welcome to the follow-up Showdown 2, Nerds in Quarantine, where we give worthy second chapters to stories that don't have them. I am your host, who I think might like light beer a little too much, Paul Getz, and with me are my co-hosts, who I might guess would move to Pandora right now, given the chance, Travis McMaster and Lauren McKorney. Is that right?
Yes. I'd like to
That was Lauren, by the way.
I would absolutely not like to move to Pandora. I don't know if you guys know this about Pandora, but everything that flies, runs, or squats in the mud wants to eat me and my eyes for jujubes.
At first, I think you can move past it. Yeah. It would seem as way part of the culture. But moving on from that, just to let you know, if you haven't heard the show before, we are a podcast that takes movies with either no sequel or a disappointing sequel, and each take our individual turns coming up with the ultimate one. Today, our guest is a returning all-star of the show, one of the creators of the Animatrix 2000, Mario Colli-Moon. And I'm so happy to say your hyphenated name this time.
Yeah, it's official. I keep having to do this thing where I say like Mario Colli. Well, it's Mario Colli-Moon. We just got married. And then I'm on a 5-minute conversation about, it was great. Nobody was there. We saved a bunch of money, bought a house.
Nice.
Yeah.
Colli-Moon. Well, I like the sound of MCM when you abbreviate it.
There's something to do with the Lion Studio, the MCM.
MGM.
Fuck, MGM. You're right. That's what I was thinking of. No, I'm pretty sure it's Metro Coldwin Mayer.
The fact is, I never know where the studio is until I hear its name pronounced.
Because we're talking about studio names, an awesome thing that happened to me when I started this movie, it had a feature on called English Audio Description. Have you ever watched anything with this before?
I have, Paul. My brother and I accidentally rented, I believe it was Star Trek V from the Wichita Library when we were kids, not knowing it had that on. And we just were absolutely delighted with the gentle descriptions of like Spock enters the bridge and stops.
Yes. So I guess it's for the blind, which is amazing. And it's really, really well done. At least in this instance, a really smooth British voice. But it started with the 20th Century Fox logo. And here's what it said. Searchlights pierce a starry night sky, sweeping the clouds and illuminating a towering edifice in the form of the words 20th Century Fox.
Did you watch it on Disney Plus? Because I think mine did that to me too. And I like, that's so weird. It set it on to start with. Because I remember that now. And I was impressed. Like, wow, they did not phone this in. They really put some artwork into describing the scene.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Describing the logo was amazing. And then it went on. Rainforest, a swathed in rising mists was the next shot. And I was just like, well, first of all, I hadn't seen this movie since the theaters. So I was like, I don't remember this clever part with the narrator, like describing things. I wonder when this goes away.
Did you think it was like a Lord of the Rings situation?
I thought it was doing something more avant-garde than anything else. I was like, wow, this broke ground in a few ways that I don't even remember. Okay, so we've done a lot of talking around it. So anybody who doesn't know, the movie we're talking about today is 2009's Avatar, the James Cameron decade-long pursued masterpiece, arguably. The highest-grossing movie of all time until recently scooped by Avatar's Endgame.
Marvel's.
Avengers Endgame. My apologies. So, Lauren, this was your suggestion. It's been a long time coming for us to do this episode.
Yeah.
It's a big one. I would like to call it a throw down the gauntlet episode, because as we all know, there are 4 sequels planned for this movie already.
Yeah, we'll see.
Unbelievable.
We'll see how many we get, but either way, we know that some are coming, and so what we are presenting today is a challenge to James Cameron himself to do better than all of us. So let's really put on our pants this time, guys.
I think I can take him, Coach.
Wow. Them's big words. So, Lauren, why did you want to do this?
Well, because I am so very antsy for the sequels. Like, the second one was supposed to come out December 18th this past 2020, and that didn't happen.
If you thought it was coming out in 2020, that's a little on you.
Who would take Winds of Winter or Avatar 2 to come out first? Winds of Winter, of course, being the Game of Thrones book.
You're never going to read that book.
Right? Okay, that's probably correct.
The next estimated date for Avatar 2 is 2024.
What? Really?
Good Lord.
Mm-hmm.
I'll believe
it. Because of COVID.
James is smart. If you just push it off past when there will be a culture to see it, you never have to make it. That's ingenious.
Wow. But yes, this is one of my favorite movies. So that is another reason why I wanted a chance to talk about it. I think it's amazing.
All right. Well, neato. And I'm looking forward to all opinions being presented. But before we get into those, Travis, it's time for a minute with
you
McMaster.
Always forget.
Well, we have to offer it,
and that's the fun.
As ever.
Yeah.
If the guest wants to take a crack at the old minute.
I put my foot in it so bad with The Matrix that I don't want to.
Okay, can I say? I wouldn't say you put your foot into it. I think that you love The Matrix so much that you got a little excited.
You did really well, I thought.
And you just didn't manage to get all three of them done. Yeah.
All right, well, I've taken enough praise that I feel good about myself again, and we'll try it after all.
Okay.
Mario comes to the rescue again.
So this is now a Mario Colli-Moon minute.
I want to tell you, I'm very excited to hear what Jingle Paul comes up for me.
Yeah. Me too.
Travis wasn't up to the task, so Mario had to be asked. Mario Colli-Moon.
Thank you for your service.
Travis sucks.
And go.
We found a planet called Pandora. There's a special metal called unobtainium that we really want. There are also people there already, but they're these giant blue aliens. Now, we already had a program in place to make alien-human hybrid bodies that we could pilot via virtual reality, basically, to get to know them better, but also the military just wants to kill them and take the metal. We get a guy who doesn't know what he's doing because he's the brother of a guy who did know what he's doing, who goes and meets them, gets in with them, meets a native that he falls in love with. They share culture back and forth. He decides to defect against the military. Military comes to blow everything up, and he says, no, we're going to fight them, and uses his knowledge of the inside of that program to fight them off. And then at the end of the movie, the military has to F off back where they came from, and he gets to live with the natives.
Wow. Very nice. You have 20 seconds left. I'm going to give you that 20 seconds to explain as much of the Na'vi culture as you can.
Okay.
In 20 seconds.
It is the Earth-typical, they are close to the planet on which they live, the Earth. They have who knows how much ability to make technology because they probably never bothered to look into it. Everything works with an analogy of as if it were homegrown, so they have houses and cars and airplanes, but they're all biological creatures that they can talk to, so they don't need to build any of those things. Everything glows, so they never have to use electricity.
That's your full minute, and you used it very well, my friend. Well done. Very well done.
I should have just said more Matrix plot instead. Damn it.
We get Mario to do every minute. His mind, like a diamond, under great pressure becomes hard and beautiful. Day to day, his mind is...
A diamond has already been under pressure.
Guys, don't worry about it, everybody. I actually do have an end of this sentence in mind.
Let's hear it.
No, because no one laughed at my little shitty remark just now, so now I just look like a bully.
There were laughs. I think you just missed them. I kept going.
I said to myself after the Matrix episode, wherein I would say Mario and I, as we do when we're together, got a little rowdy and a little noisy. I said I was going to be a kind-hearted man and compliment and be uplifting. And it has been 12 minutes, and that's all out the window now.
All right. Now I know what we're doing here.
And the episode will be all the better for it. Okay, so then, yes, time to get into it. Let's talk about our feelings. Do you want to go first, Lauren, or do you want to be kept for last?
I want to go first because I just want to gush. So I saw this movie in theaters in 3D, in 2009. I was instantly taken with it. I thought I was blown away by the visuals. I was very touched by the story. I still, cry every time. It's so arresting. It is a classic tale, but I just think it's wonderful and beautiful, and I'm so enchanted by it. And that's I guess that's really it. That's just going to be repeating how much I think this movie is special and captivating and needs to stop being bullied.
Aha.
And that's all I'll say on that.
Yeah. You know, for it to be bullied after making, the most money ever for quite a few years is like, it's a funny thing.
It's curious.
It's like indicative of how culture reacts to anything, I guess.
Sure. They
love it and then dissect it. Mm-hmm. I guess then the question becomes, is this movie worth a little bit more dissectable than your average thing? I mean, like, do you feel this is hated on more than other franchises of its same size?
Yeah, because I'd say it's on the same level as like Marvel movies, and people don't really poo-poo Marvel movies. They're there for them. So I'd say that Avatar definitely gets the brunt of hate. One, I haven't met many people that love it as much as I do. Really, it's only Travis, honestly. And so many people, it's like a cultural like zeitgeist. People are like, yes, we're gonna poop on Avatar. I don't know why. Back when I saw this, became pretty instantly one of those shit-uponers. My experience watching it was being jaw agape, eyes agog for the first hour and a half at least. Blown away, seeing something I'd never seen before, and in a way that it's like, I understand completely why this movie is worth every single bit of its money. This time around watching it, my feelings on the narrative and how the movie is overall were better. I liked it better. I was done wanting to hate on it. I will say that this time, once again, at a certain point, I checked out of the story a little bit more than I was hoping I would. It's pretty easy to follow, but at a certain point, I just kind of felt like, okay, I know everything that's going to happen for the next hour at least. It's a long movie.
And then
it's like 2.5 hours, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So when he rides his Banshee, that was like sort of the...
pardon, I'm sorry. This is a genuine clarification. The first time he rides it, or when he rides the super one?
Taruk.
The first time he rides his own, cool. When he's like tested.
Right.
That was the beginning of my come down of delightment with the film. And then it didn't really come back up to that point until the creatures got involved again, specifically when the hammerheads came back in the forest.
That's the part when I start crying.
That's the first time in the movie after that I felt like, oh shit, I did forget about this. This did surprise me and in a delightful way. And it also made me question, like, he knew about these things. That should have been part of the plan from get-go, but whatever.
It's hard to have Lauren say this is my favorite movie and not just go, okay, neat. Avatar. I had the experience of seeing it in the theater and in 3D, and that first shot where Jake comes out of suspension and they do like a really deep field of vision. It's the most like, oh, the wall came off the back of the theater moment I've ever had in a 3D movie. Like, because yeah, of course it's good. It's James Cameron and it's amazing and it's technically unbeatable. Still, arguably now in a lot of ways. So when I went to rewatch it for this, I was shocked at how bored I was for most of it. I mean, I paused it halfway through thinking there's 30 minutes left. And there was a whole half a movie. And I don't want to say I felt dismayed, but sort of fatigued. Like when you're like, well, I've got a lot more work to do before I can go home. And that's not the experience you want. And then I had the opposite experience of you, Paul, where I was like, it's the all is lost moment and everything's on fire and everything's in slow-mo and everyone's sad. I was like, how did they get that? How did they get out of this? I don't remember. And then the animal showed up and I was like, oh, they get rescued by magic.
By nature. By nature.
Yeah, nature.
Basically.
Something inexplicable that doesn't have anything to do with anything the characters did. I just want to point out that my experience was remarkably different from Lauren's and particularly different from Paul's, in that I went from having esteem for the film to realizing that just none of it. I mean, like that Paul and I have not watched it since it came out, to me is an indication of we did not find anything worth going back for in abstract. You know what I mean? I think if you ask either of us 6 months ago, hey, what do you think of Avatar? We'd go, yeah, good movie. But it's been sitting there on Disney Plus since I got Disney Plus, and it never occurred to me to watch it. And I've gone back to watch all kinds of other stuff. So
I don't know when I'll watch it again. Maybe before the next one.
I was going to say, if it takes until 2024, you'll probably want to review in 3 years.
Yeah.
We watched it last year as well.
I mean, it's long, like you said. It's long, and I don't know that it needs to be that long. I mean, I can't really think of a spectacle that I want cut out, because the spectacle is what it has and does well in spades. What I would say it might be lacking in, that every Marvel movie has to some extent, is fun. You know, there aren't really any complexities to character. And so there aren't even really any funny characters. There's not even really a character redemption that happens.
Do you know what's weird? Yeah. Whose character ends up honestly standing out to me the most every time I watch it is the boss bad guy.
Giovanni Ribisi.
Yeah. He stands out, but I think it's literally just because I think it's super fun to watch Giovanni Ribisi be fucking smarmy.
Yeah.
And I know he doesn't do anything any more than anyone else, but for whatever reason, his performance is always him just being, you see this rock? Yeah. I'm like, yeah, all right.
He's very.
As soon as he showed up with the putting, I was like, I forgot he was in this. Yes, I'm already on a next level here, because he is really the only actor in the movie that takes it to another level. And then
I will say that I think in defense of Sigourney that she's in that scene too, and she's probably doing more to support Paul than we're giving her credit for.
I would also say that her dialogue stands out to me as dialogue that would have fallen flatter in anyone else's hands.
Yeah, she had a lot to lift.
I disagree about the performances. I think that across the board, there. I mean, maybe not Sam Worthington. He does. No.
Sorry.
He does his. Yeah. He does what he does very well. I think he does Jake Sully great service. But overall, I think the performances are very, very good, and they come through even the mocap, which is a huge testament. You know.
Yeah. I'll give lots and lots of credit to Zoe. It's a hard thing to not feel a sense of disconnect when something is so CGI bolstered, like her character is in general. To some extent, she almost feels like an animated character. It's a hard connection to make as a viewer for me, in terms of like how much she's doing really well.
Okay. Outside
of her, I don't know. I guess it's just because every character falls into a familiar archetype and none of them, the closest anyone besides Giovanni came to me to breaking out of that archetype hole was when Michelle Rodriguez says, "You're not the only one with a gun, bitch." That was the only one that stood out as like a fun. Hey, fun! You know, I don't know. I really enjoyed that.
Well, I mean, I really love Avatar too. I saw it a bunch in theaters.
5 times.
Don't say the number. It's one of those movies I'll throw on like once a year or so, just because I really enjoy it. I don't typically anymore like to engage in the Avatar bashing defense conversation. I've done that a lot. No one ever wins that conversation. Just two people are mad at each other a little bit. And I don't have any like secret magic insight to open anyone's eyes. I saw the same movie everyone else did. I just liked what it did. I don't disagree with anything you've said. And in fact, when I watch this movie and I have these fake arguments in my head and then out loud to Lauren about these hypothetical and very real people who don't like Avatar, I always think there are lots of reasons not to like Avatar, as there are with any movie. It is very long. Sometimes you don't want to sit through a movie that long. And yeah, it's not dazzlingly inventive in its writing. It is almost by design boilerplate, so it can present all of these like R&D effects things Cameron wanted to do to tell this story. Like the bad guy's name might as well be General Biceps.
This movie, when I went back to watch it, does feel like someone wanted to make the best tech demo they could come up with, and they felt that the only way to get away with that was to tell a story. And the tech is unarguably awesome. I will talk to you for 20 minutes about how they had cameras that knew where they were in a digital space so that he could like scale up to do the like passes through the valley or go, normal camera size to shoot Zoe reacting, and all of that stuff is amazing. And I think that the movie gets like, this is the most cinematic justice I've ever seen a movie receive. It made the most money ever, and then no one talked about it again. And I don't think that's undeserved.
I'm just saying, like, can you all stop 12 years later like smirking down at me and going like, have you ever seen a little movie called Fern Gully? I don't know if you're aware of this movie, Fern Gully.
Yeah. I guess I mean, sort of as to Mario's point, I'm surprised people would still be doing that.
Right.
I understand doing it in the moment, and I understand why I was one to do it in the moment. There is a sense of an inner like sense of letdown when the movie stops doing things like creating brand new creatures for me to go, wow, at, and just picks up a plot.
Nuance is hard.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, nuance is really hard for people.
I mean, I don't have a lot of like major negatives of like this didn't make any sense, or like the stuff that is actually like a criticism outside of just didn't grab me.
Sure.
Like it could have or whatever.
Yeah. Question.
I don't know.
I have the DVD, so of course I always, when I watch it, except for this time where we did it on Disney Plus, I always watch the extended director's cut.
I could not imagine. What did he put back in? What could he possibly
jokes?
Put back
Are there
in?
jokes? Jokes?
He cut Steve Zahn's character, the short fat Navi.
No, I'm sorry. They cut a Steve Zahn performance for this.
I'm kidding. Guys.
Yeah.
Oh, I was about to be so mad.
There's no short fat Steve Zahn Navi who keep like dropping hands and stuff. There is like some extended Navi stuff later. I don't like with the love scene or something, yada yada.
It's not that much, honestly.
The reason I like to watch it is that he front loads the movie. You get a lot more stuff with Jake on Earth. You get to see what Earth looks like, and it's
that's big.
It's really, really interesting.
Yeah.
I'm sure you could find the scenes online. There's not that many. But all of that stuff with his voice, there's like a scene with him at a bar. You get to see that whole scene where he's seeing his brother and those two government guys are pitching him the whole deal.
Yeah,
a little like McDonald's box apartment, which is just like a bed, and then the entire wall is a TV. And on the TV, there's a news program talking about how tigers were just cloned back into existence for the first time. Little like world
Blade
building
Runner-y stuff.
Yeah, shit that that you could absolutely lose and the movie doesn't change, so it always gets lost. But I adore it.
Yeah.
Well, that actually all sounds kind of appealing to me.
But before
those kinds of details being added in.
I wanted to like just tack one more praise on it, and like it really does come down to that. I really love like the dialogue is very like, like ooh, like it's doing something.
Arch.
It's
arch.
What he keeps saying, arch. I'm not sure what that means. But I love it. Like he's like, oh, some guy ended my brother's life for the paper in his wallet.
Like he's a noir detective.
Wow. Right, I was going to say it's almost noir.
Yeah.
I love that. Like it works for me. And every single line Stephen Lang has.
Oh my god.
It's just
oh my god.
I see how that could be taken as something people are like, ugh, but I'm just like, yeah.
And I will not succeed. Not with all of you.
Yeah, Stephen Lang worked for me pretty well.
Like whenever he's like doing like push-ups, he's like, you see this scar? Day one. I think I felt like a shaved-tailed Louie. Just all of his
But you know what?
His verbiage is like, I'm like, what the fuck are you saying? This is crazy.
But you know what? I kind of like it.
Anyway, I just wanted to...
Guys, we should watch Avatar right now.
The thing that's disappointing is I remember saying like, well, at least Stephen Lang is here. And as I watched back through the movie, it's like, yeah, that's fine. It didn't even hit the way it used to hit for me. And I don't know why.
I think it's very sweet of you to sort of like hesitantly be like, gosh, I don't know why I didn't like this movie. Like, it's fine. And I really think the reason that it didn't resonate with you guys, I think they're valid reasons. It's long. It's a little, I don't want to say flat, but it's simple. Like, there are 100 reasons why you might disengage, especially 12 years later after you've seen it.
I disagree with the narration as a whole. First of all, it goes away really quickly. And it brings about lines in the beginning you don't need and that do stick out. Like I wrote down, one life ends, another begins. It's like, yeah. I mean, I'm seeing that visually. You know what I mean? Like that, all of those scenes would work just as well without the narration, especially given that it doesn't stick with it. And then I remember after it drops it in the beginning, the next, and I think only time it comes back is Sigourney Weaver walks away from him and his thought is like, she knew exactly what I was doing. Blah, 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 blah. And it's like, why do we need to say that?
It's spotty. It comes back it works for me in this, probably just overall because I love the movie and it's doing a number of things that could be seen as cheap or weird or cheesy, but I like it. And in this particular case works for me because Jake is also doing his video logs, so that's like a form of voiceover-ish.
But that's what I said too.
Yeah.
But it comes back after he stops doing the logs, which is why that argument falls apart.
That's the thing to me is like, I would say that my actual active problem with this movie is that there is a lack of discipline, which I know is weird to say about James Cameron, but I think it's true. The narration feels like a writing flourish that they were charmed with or reliant on and could have gotten rid of, but didn't because it didn't that would have taken more discipline. There's so many things in this movie that kind of function the same way. Jake literally figures out how to ride a dragon before doing it better later. You did that already. He attacks the world tree first, right? When their home burns. Mm-hmm. And then that moment, all is lost. We are defeated. And they go home. And they're like, well, we're going to do it again. And then you have the same scene for the beginning of the third act. It's like, you already did the guys come to you and try to blow you up, but now we're going to do it better. I think that there is a version of this movie that's 30 to an hour shorter, and it slaps and doesn't let up. And you get all the same world building and interesting things, and maybe it holds your hand less. I bet you a 90 to 120 minute version of this movie that really isn't doing anything indulgent would have been on people's lips for the rest of time, and probably would have made it easier to make a sequel, frankly.
Yeah, and I can see what you're saying, and it feels very comfortable to me. Because like I said, I don't have any notes that are negative to the point that it tears down the movie. The structure works. It's classic, and as far as an origin story for, as you put it, Avatar world, that works too. That stuff is all the best stuff. I am excited to see if Avatar 2 brings things to a Terminator 2 level by bringing, once again, the fun. Because that is really what...
When people say to me Terminator 2, I think, yeah, that movie's fun.
I know what Paul means. I don't anticipate any fun.
I will say that if Jake teaches Nahiri how to do thumbs up or smile, I will be over the moon.
Home run! I'm laughing already. That sounds great.
He'll probably just pull one of these, and she can be like,
"Oh, we're gonna get a high four joke."
Oh,
he didn't like that. He didn't like that one, folks. As far as people dunking on the movie, I can say I do sort of agree with the note of so his sex tail also goes into the horse? Because my sex stuff does multiple things too, but none of them are also into a horse.
Well, they could.
Right.
It could.
You could.
All of my behavior.
Well, okay, so real quick, just to get some notes in before we move on. Actors' notes I have for this movie. The studio's first choices to play Jake Sully were Matt Damon and Jake Gyllenhaal.
Ooh.
Jake would have been so good in this.
Yeah.
I'm not anti either of those choices. I do have more faith in Jake elevating things. And I love Matt Damon, but I have seen Matt Damon play... I think he works better in a normal guy movie than an action movie. Whereas Jake, I think...
Jason Bourne is garbage.
Yeah, I feel like he barely pulled off those.
I'm just kidding. Yeah. I love Jason Bourne.
Yeah, I do too. That's a very good point.
And I have... What's his name? Sam
Worthington.
Worthington. He's not dead, right? He's around?
No. He had his moment in the sun. I feel he got hated on like Avatar got hated on, and just continued to get hated on like that.
Yeah, that's unfortunate, because I feel like anytime a movie has an actor put a performance like that in, like Hayden Christensen, this guy, anything where someone is just like Keanu when he was on early, that's a choice that the people making the movie above that actor are making for them. You know what I mean? That's what they were asked to do. You can't get too mad at them. That's why you cast Sam Worthington, because no offense to Sam Worthington, it's easy for us to forget who the fuck he is and be involved in the movie as, I'm the protagonist. It's almost like a video game.
And just for anyone who wants to jump up and down on Sam Worthington too hard, because I agree his performance in that is very narrow and in the lane it's trying to be in. But just to point out how hard it is to still do that level of acting poorly or whatever, just go into your living room and try to make his big speech to the other clans to join them. Try to do that yourself and sound half as inspiring, and you'll see how difficult it is to actually carry even the most basic parts of performing.
I mean, but that's the difference between an act. There is something that separates an actor from a movie star, and I don't think Sam Worthington got there.
The movie is stacked with actors that on their own carry whole films, and they're just in there as bit parts, and it seems really unfair to be and Sam did an adequate job he was asked to do, so let's rain on him forever. Yeah, anyway,
Jake Gyllenhaal, I think, would have been really good.
He's...
Yeah,
I don't know.
I
don't know.
Cast Jake.
Well, James Cameron didn't want to do that. He wanted an unknown. Apparently, Sam Worthington was living in his car when he was cast. And what James Cameron specifically wanted was a real quality, the guy who you want to have a beer with.
Yeah, I think Sam was doing a great job of being exactly what James Cameron wanted. Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't be that excited to have a beer with that guy.
Well,
be like, this is work
I would, because I'd be like, hey,
kind of boring.
Sigourney Weaver like?
Yeah. So he almost didn't cast Sigourney because he thought it was the obvious choice, but then she just pushed her way through, nailed the audition.
That's such a funny excuse in this movie to be like, well, it seemed obvious.
Well, and similarly, Michael Biehn was considered for the Colonel.
Fuck, that's a hard one to disagree with the casting on, because obviously that guy's amazing, but I do love Michael Biehn.
Well, and James Cameron specifically rejected him because he'd already cast Sigourney, and he didn't want people thinking it was aliens all over again, which... That's another weird logic to me, because it's like
alternate title for Avatar. Aliens all over again from James Cameron.
Also, if you like, how is that a sticking point for you, but not robot suit fighting giant mother alien-looking alien later in the movie?
Have a knife.
Yeah, I think Michael Biehn.
Okay,
I don't think Stephen Lang's so good. I don't think Michael Biehn could have pulled off like that outrageous macho that Stephen Lang has.
Is so good that, spoilers, he dies in this movie, and when they announced he's returning for the sequels, I had zero problem. I was like, yeah, great, don't care what.
Yeah,
I don't care if they just put an eye patch on him and they're like, he's okay now.
Yeah. So just last thing I want to say about Sam Worthington, and this helps me give him credit, I didn't realize he was Australian, and that often comes up with me when I find a person that I felt their role was stifled or boring or just sort of flat, and then I find out they were doing an accent the whole time that I didn't notice was an accent, I go, okay, points.
I think that's the most charming thing I've ever heard. Yeah. Like, because culturally we are huge on ragging the shit out of any actor who doesn't pull off an accent, Benedict Cumberbatch.
Aww.
But anytime anyone does it, it's like the thankless task, you know what I mean? So I love the idea that Paul went out of his way to be like, he was so good, I didn't know he wasn't that. Right. He's not from there. Well done. Okay, so some fun facts here.
Finally.
I'm sure you notice many of the animal noise heard in the movie are recycled dinosaur noises from Jurassic Park. Specifically,
stuck
the first
out at me hardcore.
T-Rex and raptor noises.
I say it every day.
Whoa!
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think it's, as a lover of Jurassic Park, I think that's neat. But as a lover of not being wildly distracted during my movies, I found it an odd choice.
Yeah.
And not to beat up on the movie too much, but reminding me of Jurassic Park during your movie is probably a bad thing to do if I already would rather be watching Jurassic Park.
I don't think James Cameron thinks in those terms.
No, yeah,
and then my favorite fun fact that I have, the spiral-shaped retracting creatures that Jake pokes so that they retract themselves, one of my favorite moments in the movie, are giant versions of what are called Christmas tree worms, a marine invertebrate commonly kept in reef aquariums. Very James Cameron Under the Sea,
I knew I hated them.
There. Oh. I loved them.
I didn't know that.
I didn't think it was cool that he was touching them. I was like, those are alive, man. But I'll just real quick go over what, besides, as you mentioned, Stephen Lang is returning for the sequel, everything else that there is to be known about the sequel. Basically, everyone is returning. Sam Worthington.
Thank God. I'm glad he's alive.
Yeah. Zoe Saldana, Giovanni, hell yeah. CCH Pounder, and Stephen Lang, and Matt Gerald, the guy who gets crushed by the hammerhead rhino in the suit. His sort of like main underling.
Yeah.
He's coming back. I don't know how those characters are coming back, but they're coming back. Oh, Sigourney Weaver is also returning, although she is playing a different character.
No shit. I was going to say, because this sounds like flashback stuff, right? At this point, like you have so many people who are dead that it's probably just like, remember when that happened?
And then the new cast members are Cliff Curtis and Kate Winslet as members of the Na'vi Reef people, and Una Chaplin, who is a Varang, a strong and vibrant central character who will be spanning the entire saga of all the sequels. So that's pretty much all that's known. And then there's a bunch of kids, like kid actors who are supposed to pick the roles as well.
Someone had twittered that, like the cast announcement of all those kids, however many years ago it was, and they were like, "These are all the kids who are going to be the Avatar sequels." And I think the overall point was like, by the time the sequel actually comes out, the youngest one of those kids is going to be like old enough to drink.
Yeah. That's maybe something. Maybe this is like, what was that? The Linklater movie where they just followed a kid around and then they're like, we made a movie about him. Yeah, Boyhood. That's what Cameron's doing. He's literally just letting these actors who are going to be CG anyway grow fully up to portray them from kids to adults. That might be it, honestly. Who knows? No, James Cameron will take a risk. That you got to say about him.
Yeah, he doesn't like idling. He likes to crank it. He likes to press down on the accelerator, baby. Reach those depths, literally.
Yeah, there you go. That's a better one with him. He'll go deep. He goes deep.
He goes deep. So let's challenge him, huh? Yeah! So, starting off, back to the questions. Should this movie have a sequel?
Yeah.
Yeah!
4 spread across decades.
Absolutely not. My pitch is a pastiche of other franchises I'm forcing to be involved with Avatar because I literally have no questions about what happens next.
Well, I will say that we did run into that problem thinking of our pitches, and especially because it's set on literally another planet. You can't go like, well, all the characters go to Vegas. It's like, I don't know. There's monsters everywhere, and they killed the humans.
It's hard with this movie because what is to be expected from James Cameron is nothing short of something no one has ever seen before. Right. So how are we going to do that?
Underwater stuff, mostly.
I mean, and also I'm excited, everything I liked most in the movie was being introduced to this incredibly visual world. I'm ready for a second incredibly visual world. Under the sea. Cue Homer dream sequence. But my answer to the question is no. I mean, I'm wrong because I'm going to go see the movie. Can't wait for it. Well, to some extent, blah, blah, blah. But, I don't know, in terms of what this movie did and this movie earned, I think I would be more excited for James Cameron to be doing something I never heard of. I don't want him committed to this one franchise for decades,
Yeah, me too.
Personally.
Does it need a sequel? No. Is there room for sequels? Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, the story
I just want to say
complete.
Yeah.
Okay, so then next question, sequel or prequel? If you're going to do it, what's the sweet spot?
I would say prequel. You have more. Right. There's more interesting stuff to be found in the rich history of like all the shit before. Finding the planet, going there, establishing your first whatever. Grace's school with the kids. There's plenty of stories to be explored there.
I did have questions throughout the movie about the inception of their sort of Avatar spy program into the Na'vi culture. Like, the idea was for them to sort of be undetected as humans anyway in that culture.
But that can't possibly be the motive, right? Because they have human faces on purpose.
Yeah, I think they were always aware that was an avatar. I don't think there was any sort of like sneakiness. I think they knew like, oh, this is a human pretending to be a Na'vi to communicate with us, which I grant you is like you have to go way out of your way to make that make sense. And you're like, you grew a monster to talk to people?
Like, just how would you react if, like, a sentient ape species suddenly sent a human ape thing it created out of the woods and was like, "Hi, we're here to get to know you." Like, how did you get our DNA? Did you kill anyone for this? Did you think about the morality of it? Does that thing have a soul? What are we doing here?
Yeah, well, and is it primarily to work around the atmosphere that they can't breathe? Or, I mean, I guess I just don't fully understand what the program was for, because it never seemed to be a covert op in any way.
I believe that is why that aspect is glossed over. Because I think
I wanted this guy to be in with this new culture, but I have to justify a bunch of really heavy lifts, so we'll just go very fast through that part.
You bury under a bunch of other very interesting, easy-to-buy information about scientifically accurate information. And they're like, and if you look over here, here's a tank with a monster that looks kind of like Sam Worthington, moving right along.
I kept thinking that they were going to be establishing like a fake backstory. Like we're a different sect of you people from another place. You know what I mean?
I think that the movie just is very vague about it because like they take it vaguely in stride whenever Jake just like turns off at the last half of the movie. Yeah. So they must have some like passing awareness that there is a pilot to this thing, or they just ignore like, hey, why did you pass the fuck out just now?
No, they're aware, but they call them sky people.
So and they call them demons. I think they, you know.
I guess I always thought that they were referring to the humans because I assume they were aware of the existence of the humans.
They're aware of all of it. They're just not really impressed or interested in it.
Right.
Yeah, that makes the most sense.
In the director's cut, they talk about Grace's former program, Dr. Augustine, where she goes to teach the kids. They have a school set up. They actually go, Jake Sully and Grace and all of them, they go explore that school in their Na'vi bodies. And we don't know what happened, but there's like gunfire bullet holes in the chalkboard.
Okay, so there was. I think that's like as much as you'd get to mine out of a prequel is like this is the situation, which is pretty stable. So like the question of like, well, what happened before? To me is like, apparently nothing that relevant.
It seems like there's more to talk about with what happened with humans.
This isn't my pick, but the only thing I could think of was like a 3-hour PBS style documentary on Earth about the history, humanity's history with Pandora, and see the first images that were sent back to Pandora that we all saw when we were very young in elementary school, and see how the discovery that we were not alone in the universe affected the world, our first trips out to the planet, and all that stuff. And I was going to call it the Pale New Dot.
That's cool.
That's a solid name.
I'm on board for 20 minutes. Over 3 hours, but I like it.
Yeah. In your prequel pitch, that the Na'vi are there is like irrelevant. It's just like, what does that do to Earth to know that there are aliens? It could be any alien, right? I mean, like,
no, it would be the
you know what I'm saying?
Na'vi storyline with
it's split between an Earth documentary and a Na'vi documentary filmed with biological camera creatures, kind of like in the Flintstones. Oh, no.
It's just CCH Pounder like talking,
and the plugs are all the same. So there's a computer creature as well. They plug it in. It's pretty standard.
You do. I think sequel is the best pitch, and I think obviously that's pretty much what we're gonna. But though now that we're talking about the casting, I bet you what we're getting is like a sequel with a lot of prequel-y parts. I would not be shocked if we spend a lot of time before Avatar in the Avatar sequel.
But there's 4 more chapters already planned. It'll be an overarching Na'vi story. It would make sense.
Yeah, good point, Mario.
I heard good point, Travis.
All right, so does anyone want to go first?
We save Lauren for last, right?
Yeah, we save Lauren for last. And we put all the pressure on her that we can. Is it a joint pitch? Is it a joint pitch?
It is. It's a joint pitch with apparently lacking all affect of dramatic reveal.
We can take it again if you want and deliver it however you want, because this is huge. This is a follow-up Showdown first, a joint pitch from our 2 co-hosts who do live together and who have talked at length about helping each other on their pitches many times before. This is the first official joint pitch, and I'm
first ever Laurvis joint.
Ooh, Laurvis McKorney.
Laurvis McKorney.
I feel like the Laurvis is the creature that Dr. Seuss created to teach children to stay at home and not talk to each other.
Sounds right. That's pretty much what we do.
Mario, while you're on a roll, why don't you start us off?
Sure, why not?
All right, let's turn up the heat.
The first sequel, Avatars. So yeah, let's see. So what you get is this is the all right, things are cool here. Do you want to come see? You want to meet the in-laws, Nahiri? So they jump on a slow light ship, just like he took to get out there. It's going to take them 8 years to go back to Earth. That's not where we join them. We join them at Earth. They are on Earth, so now we're seeing Na'vi, in a crazy suit so she can breathe Earth atmosphere with him walking around, and she is our eyes to be introduced to whatever Earth is in the Avatar universe. They're there for like Act 1, and then very similar to Act 1 of the first Avatar movie, it's like the world gazetter for what Earth is now. You spend a lot of time not advancing any sort of plot at all for like an hour of the movie where you're just like, oh yeah, this is how we do shipping in the future because that's, thematically appropriate to the first one. That's what we do for Act 1. Act 2 would be this thing where all of a sudden like portals open up and there are massive ships in orbit around Earth and they just start like abducting giant swaths of people, taking them away, and everyone's like, what the fuck is going on? And Jake and Nahiri and a couple other people that they know are in a good position to like fight back some. So they have some victories that are small where they kill one and they're sort of examining this thing and they're taking it apart. And it's like an extremely biologically advanced version of a Na'vi. So it's still got like the blue skin, but instead of like a weird hair braid, it has like a more like technologically purposeful like port that does the same thing. And what they figure out is that the aliens are like higher dimensional beings. Basically, the aliens that the humans are interacting with are avatars of these higher dimensional beings. So that's where avatars. They're here because what they're doing is they come back to Earth when they need to and harvest human beings to use as a base genetic stock that they develop into their different alien races that they use, which is why it was so easy for Earthlings to turn Na'vi into like half breeds, because the human genome is like the basic structure. And nobody knew this, but like that's where Na'vi come from originally, like, and other species that we haven't met yet. They're all just like, you grab a basic blank human and turn it into an alien race that, you know, is out there in the galaxy. So that's what we find out through Act 2 with some like action beats of them fighting superior forces and winning little victories. So at the end of the movie, they figure out that they were originally created from the same genetic stock, and Pandora is a member of this extra dimensional race. These beings, quote unquote, that are piloting these avatars are actually like the consciousness of entire planets. And when they all decided to fuck off to the fourth dimension or higher space, Pandora was like, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to leave the people that live here and I'm going to stay in this dimension and we're just going to be very chill and back to the Earth. So like Pandora is alive and a being that has agency and awareness, but they opted out of this like go be more technologically advanced thing. So they steal teleportation technology, basically, or a way to move faster than light so they don't have to spend 8 years getting back. And they flee the now conquered Earth back to Pandora, which is where we would pick up in Avatar 3, which is like a detective story on Pandora, discerning how to communicate directly with Pandora, like practically speaking, getting their shit together. And then Act 2 is an attack from the bad aliens who have Earth, and it's, you know, this is your all is lost moment. Now they've got Pandora tied up in all of this as well. So the gang figure out this technology and they use it to talk to our planet Earth, and Earth sort of like awakens into a celestial consciousness as well. And with Pandora and Earth working together, they push the extra dimensional aliens back and set them up with like synthetic life so that they don't have to like mine human beings. Basically, Earth is like, why don't you use technology that human beings have been developing to make bodies so that you don't have to steal us, because we don't like that, and you leave us and Pandora alone and fuck off back to the fourth dimension. And the aliens are like, yeah, all right, great. And that's the end of the Avatar sequels.
Wow. That's very, I feel like it's a very typical Mario pitch. That is high concept, delightful. What I think 9 people pitch an Avatar sequel, and it's not going to be that weird gobbledygook you just said.
What's going to bake your noodle later is that this is actually a side pitch for a Matrix sequel.
No, I know. That's what I wrote down. I've got Prometheus meets Matrix meets Ender's Game.
Yeah, no, I just stole from everything I liked better.
It's great. Good luck, Paul. Ours is a good, solid, that sounds like a sequel to Avatar, but like Mario's is like, that's an exciting idea. My mind's a Twitter. I was already picturing that shot from Mr. Baseball, like Neytiri is on Earth like 2 feet taller than everyone else around her.
Yeah, it would be really fun.
It's not going to take the length of my normal pitches.
Now, say where to go.
Jake Sully has been on Team Pandora for many years now. It's been years. That's all you need to know. It's been years. Neytiri starts having dreams about the sky engulfing the planet around them. A few days into having these dreams, the sun is blocked out by a massive shadow in the sky, casting all of Pandora into darkness. It lasts so long that the bioluminescence of the life around them begins to fade. The Na'vi want to plan a defense against this shadow, but Neytiri argues against it, believing that the vision she's having means this is important. Jake Sully backs her up on this point, and they're both so well respected in the tribe at this point. I would assume he's head of the tribe. Okay, so one day, the sun returns as the shadow moves, revealing itself to be an enormous flying creature who lands on a massively open range that the planet itself seems to have formed for it. The being and the planet begin to sort of share energy with each other once it lands. It sort of hooks into the planet, into Pandora. All of the Na'vi tribes migrate to this place where this is happening and conclude that the creature and Pandora are giving each other energy, and also that the creature is absorbing into itself the spirits of the Na'vi dead, their memories, and even their way of life. Jake Sully, having space traveled before, concludes that those who are willing are meant to bond with this being and travel upon it through space to bring their way of life to other planets in the universe. So basically, all of Jake, Neytiri, and all of their tribe climb aboard and are joined by a smattering of other Na'vi. This begins a space odyssey like no other, Avatar Galactica. After exploring a few other worlds, they come to Earth, and much like Mario's, they struggle to work with humans to better things there. There is conflict, but ultimately peace and change.
I think that's also really interesting and dynamic and really explorative, and I'm starting to feel like we should have gone first. Those were really good. Very proud of you both. I will now tell you what our movie is.
Let's dance.
So it's called Avatar 2 Operation Scatter. Set not long after the events of Avatar. Of course, the opening scene is going to be a little bit of establishing like what the equilibrium norm is between the humans who have been left behind and Jake and Neytiri and running the tribe and all that stuff. Boilerplate. And then, boom, explosion. Far off, but close enough that everyone's like, we need to check that out. Jake and Neytiri go to investigate. As they're getting closer to Ground Zero, they notice the jungle around them is like sick and dying and mucky and like they're decaying. They're getting as they get closer to Ground Zero, they're like the forest is sick. So then when they get to Ground Zero, they discover in some of those mech suits some Marine dudes who have been left behind, kind of Rambo style. And they've got some bombs. They're trying to blow some stuff up. So everyone jumps into a fight. Luckily, they got their own backup in a mech.
Norm has adopted his own mech suit because he's a human and can't breathe Pandoran air, so that's his weapon.
So he's back up in a Norm suit, in a mech suit. A fight ensues. A handful of the guys run off, and a mysterious container of some sort of black grayish sludge is destroyed by Norm. That was very important to these Marines. Once Norm destroyed it, they all run off. Neytiri is lightly wounded. It's just a scratch, but she's like in her arm or whatever. So they got all this Marine stuff. They see this weird tech. They take all the bomb and the gray sludge and stuff back to the base to Dr. Max Patel. And they're like, hey, we found all this stuff out in the middle of this decaying forest spot. Can you tell us what it is? And he immediately says, I know what this is. This was goo developed by the military side of things. I'm not super familiar with it. But when they first landed for something called Operation Scatter, which was designed for if they get overrun by the Na'vi in the base, the humans can use this to sort of like mess with the equilibrium, get everyone off their back, kind of their only weapon in the face of these very strengthy natives who can just like tear them in half. And it's this poison that when you put into a bomb, does just what you guys have already guessed. It destroys the forest. It poisons it. It kills it.
It's a naturally occurring poison that they found on Pandora that they then weaponized to use against Pandora.
Right. Okay. So as they're explaining all of this to the group, Dr. Max Patel notices Neytiri's wound is already pretty angry looking. And he's like, we need to address that. He figures out that whatever was in the bomb is a similar poison to what's been on her. One of the guys must have had it on his knife or something. She got cut. And he's like, I don't know how to deal with that. I'm not a Na'vi healer. And she's like, I know what this is. This comes from another clan far, far away. So they have to go to this other clan to figure out a cure for her. Also, Jake, because he's a former Marine as well, knows that those guys probably going to get some more of that poison stuff that we just smashed. And that's when they look into it, blah, blah, blah. Dr. Patel is like, so they blew up one bomb. There are at least 4 more out there. They don't have any more of the poison, but they have bombs, and that's bad news for us. So everyone decides to caravan of courage their way out to this other tribe to sort of track these guys down and heal Neytiri. Before they leave, they go to their ancestor tree to pray, stick their ponytails into the thing, and that's when we're introduced to our new character, a healer of our own tribe, played by Lupita Nyong'o, who I haven't decided to give a name to because it's a funny made-up language. And so she's going to go with them just so we can have a new character. And she's not as charmed by Jake. She gets it. Okay, we get it. You're a human. You're the big guy. whatever. And also when he's plugged in, Jake hears a familiar voice, that of Dr. Grace Augustine, who has been absorbed by Pandora, as all are
uploaded into the network.
Uploaded,
Awesome.
but since she's not really, she's a human, so she kind of sticks out a little bit. But Jake can hear her more clearly than the other Na'vi, and so for this, you're going to want to sort of picture the Super Mario Brothers movie. You know, the magic fungus king who was everywhere. Grace is going to fulfill that kind of role, where she's part of the planet, just giving little
the archetypical fungus everywhere role.
Yeah.
Right. So then we're going to enter into our second act of the movie, and that's going to be like a lot of the fun of the movie is this sort of like fantasy-esque trek through the jungle where we leave behind most all of our, human compadres and the base, and we're going to get to see a lot of new Pandora monsters. A lot of new Lupita's going to be, that's your fun pulse.
Yeah,
She's going to be a little bit more of a fun
She
character.
thinks that Norm's really cute, but like in a pet kind of way. Like he's really little and he has a silly face and 5 fingers.
I have a question.
Well, and even putting, a fun character against Worthington's stiffness, that makes him more fun because then he gets nudged, he gets teased. That's all you need to do with that guy. Slap him around a little bit.
Yeah.
What was your question, Mario?
I'm just curious. Can the Lupita part be played by Steve Zahn?
That's what he said.
That's what he said.
So on this trek, one of the things that they discover is that Pandora has these underground caves that the Na'vi don't really go into because they're filled with a poisonous gas, oxygen.
Uh-huh.
But Norm can go in quite easily.
Nice.
And he's taking readings and stuff and sending them back to Dr. Patel, and they're realizing there's like a whole network of caves that go underneath Pandora that people don't really go into because it's full of poison. And so then as the second act nears its end, there's another explosion they hear. They're like, tomorrow we'll be at the clan, so let's rest up tonight. Explosion. And they go, let's check into the clan right now. They run through the night, they get to the next village, a bomb has gone off. Not everyone's dead, but it's pretty gross. It's pretty bloody and nasty. So that's where they get they find, we get a new character from that tribe. They kind of get Lupita Neytiri taken care of.
Oh, okay, sorry.
So they go in to have this fight with these other like 5 or 6 Marines who are in their mech suits. The fight ends up going into the caves because these guys they've been using the caves. They're like, yeah, we can go in there. You can't go in there. So you're going to have a little bit of like Jake and Neytiri trying to go in, and they're like, Jake is now like, it's all poisonous to him now because he's not a human anymore. Norm kind of gets a couple hero moments as he can breathe the oxygen more easily. They're not going to be able to stop that last bomb from going off. We're going to do something cool like the guy who I keep picturing is Crossbones from Captain America, just like that big, angry military type, basically the same guy from the first Avatar. He's going to blow himself up in the cave or whatever. But what happens is instead of the cave collapsing, what it does is it blasts all the rock off of this cave. And underneath is this semi-opaque, beautiful crystal. They see that they're under a body of water, a pond, so that like sunlight is getting it. Now Norman and Patel and some other people are realizing human beings can live quite easily in this now beautiful sunlit underground cave system. So everyone wraps up. We're all holding hands and stuff. We go back to our dirty old military base where everyone's living. And they're like, good news. If you guys want to stay and live, there's caves underneath. There's some oxygen-rich plants. There's some fresh water. There's sunlight now because you can just blow everything up and the rocks fall away. And we sort of start to see the very beginnings of a potential human colony, Na'vi, coexistence. And we sort of end on a very like Day the Earth Stood Still note of like, people from Earth are going to come back. Mm-hmm. We just kicked them all off. They're going to come back. If they want, there is a place for them to live here in harmony with us. But we don't know when they come back if they will come in peace or not.
Very, very nice.
I like taking it in a smaller direction. It does seem like a stakes and scale come down kind of a little, like not too much.
Oh, yeah. None of us decided to make the sentient planet battle of fourth dimensional being.
Now, what you guys gave me was more creatures, which I was very excited about. You gave me more landscapes, which is more what I wanted. And I think there's potential for even more creatures in the underground area.
Like maybe ones that look a little more familiar.
Yeah.
But still kind of weird.
Some scary, some cute, creatures. Yum, yum, yum. Yours is like if Avatar had come out within 5 years of the first one. That is 100% serviceable, a home run, because it's like, cool, new story, new visuals, sequel. But for it to come out, since it is coming out, 15 years later? How many years later?
It's
unbelievably
so far.
Yeah. Guys, it isn't even out yet. It could be 30 years.
We could never see it.
The scale that Mario's talking about is more of the, I'm hoping, like with Matrix 4, for mind blow, you know. But I am wrestling. I'm wrestling here. So does anybody else want to vote first? Oh, also, I have an alternate title pitch for you guys.
Oh, sweet.
Avatar 2: Pandora's Plague. I originally thought of
Okay,
Pandora's
can I ask you,
Pop.
gross? They have genitalia, right?
Yeah.
They're tails.
But that's what I mean. Is that the sex part? Does it do all of it?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
No, you know what?
That's correct. I think that's just an added connection.
That's just like that's like
so they're
emotional.
doing it normal.
Spirits entwining.
That's just like the ecstasy factor, you know. I don't think that they would bother giving them loincloths.
Oh, sure. Why cover if you don't need to cover? Yeah, good point.
Well, I've Googled it. And
Terrible idea.
According to Google Images, Na'vi sex seems to work pretty much identically to hardcore pornography.
And this is a, perfectly solid reference.
So that was www.
Google.
Have looky.
Leave me alone. Okay, so all right, are we ready to vote? I think we should vote. We'll go first, so you guys can figure out if you're voting for us or us.
Oh, so the new rules, Mario, are you can vote for one that's not your own.
Does our vote count as one?
We have to vote.
You can.
Okay, I didn't think so.
Just not for ourselves.
Oh, right.
Okay.
I'm gonna vote. I'm gonna vote Mario's. That was really solid.
I'm gonna vote for Paul's.
Yeah.
That was a really good idea, and I got the visual of Mr. Ray in Finding Nemo. That's how I imagined them all riding on the giant Taruk.
Yeah.
All right, one of each. Jeez.
Oh boy. I'm gonna vote for Travis and Lauren.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
One of each. Oh wow.
One of each. So Mario is not only our beloved guest, but our deciding vote.
Yeah, I'm giving it to Travis and Lauren.
Yay!
Right.
Oh yeah, who's back? That's right. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, bitch. That's right. Get your punk ass back to mommy.
The first ever Laurvis joint passing.
Oh.
Yay! I feel bad because y'all's were so much more intelligent and high concept, and we're just same characters doing things.
And it's too late to change your votes.
No
Well done, everyone. I thought, for the task given, this went very well on all sides.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody should be
Yeah,
burying their heads in the sand.
I am going to say I hope James Cameron does better than all of us.
Oh, God, yeah.
Yeah.
So far, he has.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do have a little bit of an unsung hero.
Okay, let's do it.
Hit it, Paul Jr.
Unsung heroes.
One of my favorite little moments in this movie is whenever Jake jumps off of the tree and just eats shit all the way down the leaves and he falls. When he stands up, that bit of performance mixed with immaculate mocapping and animation and CG, just he stands up and he sort of awkwardly looks at Neytiri and he brushes his chest off. Go watch that moment again. It's so it's so human. His performance comes through so perfectly, and I always pay attention to that moment because it's so delightful.
Well, that, I believe, is our first unsung hero that is a moment, so that's exciting. We've done inanimate objects before, but we're evolving. We're evolving all the time.
One of the many parts of the movies that we quote a lot is that guy at the beginning when Jake's being unloaded from the plane, and he says, "Let's nobody be dead today."
I'm going to piggyback on Nuts Not Anybody Die Today only because it turns out that my wife and I were watching the movie and she went, "Oh, I dated that guy."
What? Huh?
My wife dated that actor. So
Let's not anybody die today? Wait.
Hang on.
Yeah.
How is this not the headline of the episode?
This is classic
I
Mario.
didn't remember until you guys mentioned him.
We're talking about... We're on the podcast.
Welcome to Avatar Talk, where we talk about the guys that Mario's wife has dated.
Yeah, he'll pop up once in a while, and I'm like, "Oh yeah, the guy my wife dated."
How long did they date?
Not very long, from what I'm told.
Cool.
How old is he?
They still keep him?
No, I have no idea. I have asked 0 follow-up questions.
Oh, bud. Let's nobody be jealous today.
Wait for my mark. He's great.
He's fine.
He is good. I did like that for that moment.
My unsung hero is Stephen Lang's little robot knife. I'm so excited about Robot Knife because it's like so much in the movie. It's going so far out of your way to do something,
and it's a play on what we normally get, which is robot sword. You know, you don't see a lot of robot knives.
What's funny is because of the scale difference. It's a robot knife, but it's a people sword.
We are also going to have a supersized segment that is a combination of a things left on the table.
Let's get these things off the table.
And a Travis describes a theme park ride.
Travis describes a theme park ride. Travis describes a theme park ride.
Is going to begin with something that we didn't do because we didn't have this segment back when we did the Men in Black episode, which is we're going to start with Travis describing the Men in Black ride. Are you ready?
Yay!
I am ready.
Is it still around?
It is. Yeah, it is. It's called Men in Black Alien Attack. I think it was a new structure in 97 or 98. And it's just a laser shoot 'em game on a rail game. It's a ride. So, what?
You're making the exact wrong noise, Paul. The noise you should be making is, oh!
Yeah,
let me set the best ride in that theme park.
Let me set the scene for you. So when you...
Universal Studios, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. The park with Harry Potter, and it's still not the best ride.
Men in Black ride was pretty much every time a must ride. So when you go into the building itself, it's presented to you as though you're in a very 1960s, like a World's Fair, like the 1960s World's Fair. It's the universe and you're going to learn how you fit into the universe. The recording warbles to a stop, and Rip Torn's voice cuts in, welcoming you as the latest agents in the Men in Black. You step into a elevator, which is a very effective illusion of a rumbling building with lights that move, so you think you're going under the ground. The other doors open, you step out, you are now fully in the Men in Black headquarters. You go past like a break room with the worms in it, little robots pouring the coffee and stuff. There's like funny overhead PA calls, agents EIO report to the whatever ward. Then you go through the big, the Men in Black room with the twins, and they're there down, working the screens and stuff. And it's all terribly exciting. And that's good news because when it first opened, the line was like hours long. So you wanted to be in that Men in Black headquarters. Yeah. Then you go down, you're sorted into your car, groups of 6. And there's little laser guns up.
Are they stylized after the Men in Black ones?
They are stylized. Paul, you're using 2 hands. It's going to be a Noisy Cricket
Series
style.
4 deatomizer? Oh, it's Noisy Cricket. Okay.
No. It's closer to a Series 4 deatomizer. Yeah, it's got lights on it and stuff. The first room you go into is that test fire room that Jay was in, like the cutout buildings with the cardboard cutout robots. Now I know this is what the people are listening for, so I'm going to tell you. What you're going to want to do, first of all, don't pull the trigger over and over and over. You're wasting time. Hold that summer gun down. It's going to shoot much faster for you.
Wow.
Second, you're going to be real tempted to hit a target and then move on. No, my friends. Shoot that same target over and over and over. Rack the points up. You're going to go through. So this is a very short sequence. You basically round one corner, the alarm goes off. Now you're in the field. And the rest of the ride is like New York, and it's filled with little hidden aliens. Spaceship crashed right into the center of everything, and it has presumably unleashed a zoo of aliens. They're all shapes and sizes. Some of them are very obvious big animatronic robots. You need to aim for the eyes, people. Don't just go shooting willy-nilly. Aim for those peepers. And again, if you hit a target, just keep nailing them. And then there's also little hidden aliens. There's like, the 3-card Monty guy. He lifts up a cup. Little alien in there. Don't be fooled. Look at the 3-card Monty guy. He's an alien too. Lots of extra points.
Wait, but is he just an alien doing its job? You just shoot all of them? It's not like the J test where you got to decipher who's good, who's
shoot
bad?
Shoot them all. Let Gleeman-X sort them out.
You get a lot of extra bonus points for these hidden ones. So try to seek out where the little bonuses are. If you see Frank the Pug, he's sitting on the little newsstand.
You shoot Frank?
He's an alien, Paul.
The whole point of Men in Black is aliens are, essentially people. They're good, they're bad,
Well, let me tell you, in Central Florida, that's not how we treat the aliens when they land.
And I mean, that's sadly true.
Yeah. So then you go through regular New York, you enter into an alley, and then an alien robot says, please, don't shoot me. And then he says, get 'em. And all of the boxes upend, and more aliens pop out shooting you. Now, this is key. This is the moment they take your picture. So have a pose in mind. What I like to do is stop shooting. I know it's risky, and I hold my gun up next to my face and smile. It looks great.
Do you put shades on? You ever do that? Shades?
No, Paul, because I'm not being a nerdy dork. I don't do dorky dad jokes. I'm crisp and cutting edge.
It's just
the difference between Travis and those fathers is he makes this look good.
Okay. I hope we have a lot of Men in Black fans listening to this Avatar episode.
No, they're just hitting. They're hitting the 15-second jump ahead thing. So then you just go through, another couple of cityscapes. They do a gag because there's two cars going simultaneously in the ride. They do a gag where you are let known that the other vehicle has been taken over by aliens, and you need to shoot that vehicle. And there's a target on the vehicle. They're going to try to shoot yours. You're going to try to shoot them. Every time one of them gets hit, that vehicle will spin out of control, making it difficult for a moment to get any points.
Awesome.
Now, this is kind of a dick move, but what you can do is turn around and shoot your own target. You will spin out, but you'll also get the points. So use that at your risk. Yeah. And then you round the corner, and they're like, uh-oh, it's a big, giant end-of-the-ride bug. And then you turn, and then, as big as life, whole wall, giant alien monster face. You're shooting it in the eyes, and this is when you hear, above the din, push the little red button. Now, if you're an old pro like me or Mario, you've been tapping that button since you turned the corner.
Oh, yeah.
Because not everyone gets it. So you need to be tapping and tapping. And then, the ride spins out and it's over, and you look down at your score. Hopefully at this point it says bonus 100,000. Bonus 100,000. If it didn't, you got chumped. Sorry. Then you go through, and there's Jay himself on a screen, Will Smith. And he lets you know, because both of the cars are going in together, he lets you know who won, who got the most points. And there's a several different, I'm not going to try and quote it, but he does a bit. And then you guys are separated off into your own hallways. If you made it into the Men in Black, if you got enough points, you will see a tailor, an alien tailor, making your suit.
Oh.
Most likely what you will see is a fat alien in a white button-up shirt telling you zigged when you should have zagged, and you didn't cut it. And then you go around the corner, and there's Will Smith on the screen again, and he's like, blah, 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 sorry, flashy thing, lights flash, you come out of the ride, you're back at the World's Fair. I hope you enjoyed the universe and you. Exit to the left, blah, blah, blah.
I cannot highly stress enough how much fun this ride is. Travis's brother Troy worked there for a few years, and they could all get on the ride and max out the point score, which I think was 9,999,999 points. I stopped being able to do that a long time ago because it's a young man's game. But that ride, I'm telling you, of the rides that still function in that park, it's easily the top 3.
You can, of course, you can watch all of these on YouTube. There are just high-def videos of people going through just riding so you can pretend.
We watched one recently to pretend that we weren't still locked in our apartment forever.
Oh, I want to save it because Men in Black being one of my favorite movies, that sounds like the best ride experience that could possibly exist for me.
It's so much fun.
It's everything you want it to be.
That was excellent. That was excellent, Travis. Thank you for that. Thorough. And now we move on to Mario to describe for us what he did experience from the Avatar ride.
Yes, let me tell you, my friends, about the 4.5-hour line that is all the way out of the land that they designed to look like Avatar at the Disney's Animal Kingdom Park. And that was 3 years after they opened it. So there's a premiere attraction that is, I believe, a variant on the Soarin' ride, which for those of you who are aficionados, it's like a really immersive IMAX projection with wind, so it feels like you're flying, and smells as you go over things. And I'm told that's what the Avatar ride is, sort of. It's like the flight of, you're on a Banshee, Flight of the Banshee, I think it's called, or something like that. No idea what that ride is like. It was literally a 5-hour line every time I looked at it. And it's been 3 years. But the boat line was only like 90 minutes, so we went through that. So if you imagine It's a Small World, but it's a big world called Pandora, you've got it. It's really prosaic and very chill. It's an indoor dark boat ride, and you get on. The neatest thing that it did was you go underneath these like tall lily pads that are actually like screens, and the shadows of these like frog things like land on the pad, and it goes like boing, boing like this above you. So it looks like the frogs are like jumping around. It's a very immersive illusion. Other than that, I cannot remember one thing about that boat. And then at the end, there's a giant, extremely nice-looking Na'vi puppet singing a very immersive song. And, it's like, welcome to our world, welcome to our world, welcome to the world of Na'vi, something like that. Now, that's available on YouTube as well. You should Google it. It's a fun time. And other than that, Disney did their level best to put as much of the ridiculously impossible Avatar world into practical terms, but so there's like quote unquote floating rocks that don't really look like they're floating, and plants that you've seen before, and also plants that are a little weird, and then like an old abandoned mech suit, and I will say this, the merchandising is overwhelming and incredibly in-depth, which is surprising that what they hit the hardest was the merchandise.
Wow. The food was pretty cool, too.
The food was really neat. It's all like gastropubby stuff, so it's like, it's a banh mi, but it's got little boba balls in it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So I assume
it's cute.
The major points from Pandora are there, the tree and the Hallelujah Mountains, and the major visual.
Yeah, Hallelujah Mountains is what they really
at night, I hear that the ground interacts with your feet in a
there's like LEDs that you can step on.
We were not able to experience, sadly.
Well, thank you guys. Thank you for that, Mario.
Oh, you're welcome.
While we're on that wave, like and subscribe. Get on Apple Podcasts. Tell us what you think. Give us a review. I want to hear from anybody. We love you guys, whoever you are.
Paul? After our previous episode, has anyone said anything on the Instagram posts? Has anyone commenting? Are they out there?
No.
Well, looking forward to having Paul describe to me your interactions with us, downers.
Matt, well, there's the uppers and the downers. Travis has claimed the downers, so I guess I'll take the uppers. Lauren, you can have both.
Okay.
Nice.
That sounds good. Yeah. A little of both.
Yeah. So how about plugs? Who's got plugs? Anybody? Yeah.
I have an official website, lolascustomfunkos.com. And also follow me on Instagram at lolascustomfunkos. And I'm on TikTok as Lola_Stark because I'm trying to do a little bit of everything.
I've decided that I'm going to hype my web series, Rolling High, which is available on YouTube. You can Google Rolling High, Episode 1, The Ice Queen. Go get those numbers up so I have justification to come back and make more of it. And follow Mario on Twitter at @AQUA, KONG.
Aquacom, in case there are people driving who don't want to try to spell. If you're listening to this, you've probably heard the other episodes. Listen to The Theater of Tomorrow. Listen to The Hotel. Those are my other podcasts. Everyone you're listening to has been involved in some way, shape, or form. Mario has straight up written an entire season of Theater of Tomorrow, so if you like the cut of his jib, check out Moon Man Man Scout. They're dynamite, and we're having more come back in the spring.
I want to use my plug to promote something that I don't think has come up on the show from Travis and Lauren, which is, I believe, Travis's YouTube channel, upon which there are many a short film that these two have made in their quarantine time and before their pre-quarantine time. There's a lot of them. They're fun, they're quirky, they're funny. Slar is a particular current favorite of mine. I've watched it about 1 million times. And there was, I don't know if the big short film that just released, Control Alt Extinct, is on your YouTube channel.
Oh my God! So
check that out as well.
Yeah, we should really plug that.
I'm so stupid. Okay, yeah, please. Yeah. What you should do is go to Bent Entertainment, BENT Entertainment's YouTube channel, and check that out because we did just release our first horror short, Control Alt Extinct, which Mario lensed, I co-wrote and produced.
I did the sound design.
Oh, that's right. So it's really good. It's our friend Heather Monk directed it, and we are going to be releasing some others. We've got Mr. Nice Guy coming out on Valentine's Day. That trailer should be dropping soon as well.
Go watch all of it.
Yeah, you listen to this, you got time. Check them out. Thank you guys so much for this. I think this was a rousing success as far as the task presented. And I was going to say good luck, James Cameron, at the end of this episode, but I think we can all just be like, hi, James Cameron, thank you so much. Looking forward to it. Thank you.
James, as always.
He definitely is listening.
Thank you for listening.
Yeah.
On the next follow-up Showdown.
The movie we are talking about is 2004's Bring It On Again. Our guests today, Jen Seltzer and Alex Temple.
I can't believe that they made like 7 of these movies.
And the second one's the worst one.
Why does this keep happening?